Good morning, and on behalf of the Peruvian-Canadian Institute, let me welcome all of you who are joining us today from across Canada, Peru, Latin America, and more. My name is Lourdes Smith, and I'm the coordinator of Peruvian-Canadian Relations with Huntington University's Peruvian-Canadian Institute. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Abbas Homayet. Abbas is a publisher of Sudbury.com, a Northern Ontario business. He is also the proud recipient of an honorary doctorate of sacred letters from Huntington University.
Thank you very much, Lourdes, and what an honor it is to be back here for another Peruvian-Canadian Institute event. And not just that, not an event, but the Canadian national launch of Bicentennial of Peru celebration. Today, we will be highlighting the vibrant culture of Peru with a preview screening of two films, which are proudly presented by Huntington University in partnership with the Embassy of Peru in Canada. Before we move too much further into our agenda, I'd like to take a moment and ask all of us to reflect on where we are standing. Huntington University and the Peruvian-Canadian Institute are located in Greater Sudbury, which is situated on the traditional Anishinaabe territory of the Atikameksheng Anishinaabe, which is situated within the boundaries of the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850. The city of Greater Sudbury also includes the Wanapitei First Nation. As settlers of this land, we're grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all the generations of people who came before us. We honor those who are the caretakers of this land and the waters. It is also important that we acknowledge Canada's history when it comes to Indigenous people and the long-term impact resulting from residential schools, colonialism, and systemic racism. In recent weeks, the remains of hundreds of Indigenous children have been discovered on the properties of former residential schools in this country. This is a stark reminder of the remains a story about Canada's history that was not fully told to all of us. Reconciliations begin with acknowledging the truth. Perhaps healing may begin when we all make efforts to listen, learn, share, and support. Every child matters. Out of respect and remembrance for all these young lives lost, please join me in a moment of silence. Let this time of silence be another call for us to listen and act for right relations. Make wish. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you, Abbas. The Peruvian-Canadian Institute was officially launched on December 4, 2020. Many of you joined us for that exciting kickoff and have come back again and again to support the ongoing activities of the Institute. During 2021, we have been proudly hosting events and activities, including an online summit in May, to commemorate the Bicentennial of Peru. The Peruvian-Canadian Institute takes great pride in leading celebrations and raising awareness in Canada regarding the milestone anniversary year for Peru. Today, as we celebrate the Canadian national launch of the Bicentennial celebrations, we are pleased to welcome His Excellency Roberto Rodriguez Arnillas, Ambassador of Peru to Canada, Her Excellency Romy Vázquez Morales, Ambassador of Panama to Canada, Ms. Evelyn Miyagi-Ena, General Counsel of Peru in Montreal, Mr. Marc Serré, Member of Parliament for Nickel Belt, Chair of the Canadian Section of Pearl Americas, and founding chair of the Peruvian-Canadian Institute Advisory Council. Ms. Bela Ravi, Chancellor of the Huntington University, as well as members of the Huntington University Board of Regents. Dr. Livia Visano, member of the Huntington University Board of Regents and PCI Distinguished Fellow. Mr. Jean-Paul Rusowski, former president and CEO at Parliamentary Center and a distinguished fellow for the PCI. And of course, the president and vice chancellor of Huntington University, Dr. Kevin McCormick. As many of you know, Dr. McCormick also serves as a founding president of the Peruvian-Canadian Institute and is responsible for all aspects of its operation. Dr. McCormick, our virtual podium is now yours.
Thank you very much, Lourdes. Muchas gracias. Good morning, everyone. Your Excellency, thank you very much. I'll speak about you in a few minutes, but thank you. Madam Chancellor, members of the board, Dr. Darling, Dr. Visano, and to distinguished PCI fellows, thank you very much for being here. And for a dear friend of Huntington and the Peruvian-Canadian Institute, Member of Parliament, Marc Serré, thank you very much again, Ms. C. and Chimagwich, Mark, for your continued support of Huntington University and especially the Peruvian-Canadian Institute. Today is an auspicious occasion to celebrate and honor the 200th anniversary of independence of Peru. That's a very big milestone, a bicentennial. I know under the leadership of His Excellency, the Peruvian Embassy has been quite active in planning events, and you'll probably speak to them later, Your Excellency, about what's taking place, but there are a number of events that will occur over the next few days, recognizing that tomorrow is the official day. Huntington University, and specifically the Peruvian-Canadian Institute, is honored to be the national leader to provide that forum and to bring together people of Peruvian backgrounds and non-Peruvian backgrounds to share what great things are taking place in Peru. And I'm not talking about in one sector. I'm not talking just in business. I'm not talking just in culture and arts, in innovations, in parliamentary procedures. I'm talking as a whole, as a country with a rich history, a history of leadership within and without, and one of looking to facilitate meaningful conversations based on respect and bridges that are not one-way tolls, but opportunities for countries to work together, to share expertise, and through that innovative collaboration, ensure that both are enriched from it. I've had the good fortune for a number of years working with Marc and others to develop the Peruvian-Canadian Institute, and I think it's a real testament to what happens when passionate people come together. And the Institute itself would be challenged if it wasn't for the support of His Excellency Ambassador Roberto Rodriguez Arnilis. My friend, you've been very kind and very professional, and your staff have been wonderful to work with, and we feel very honored to support you in those celebrations and be that lead to get the good message out about what's going on in Peru. And we're hoping that today and tomorrow are not merely moments to celebrate and forget, but yet another landmark in moving forward on that journey to continue to promote Peru across Canada. I know firsthand that the work of the Institute over a number of years, and especially during the 200th year, has been integral in getting that message out. Through the establishment of the Canadian-Peruvian Fellowship Program, which recognizes outstanding individuals, 25 plus individuals have been recognized, the inaugural recipient, His Excellency, for contributions to developing and facilitating Peruvian-Canadian and Canadian-Peruvian relations. We've established the first of its kind honors program, scholarship academic award for Peruvians studying in various areas to enrich them in what they're doing. Recipients include those from the business sector, those from working towards right relations within countries. And I think as we take that moment to reflect on the horrific history that we have with respect to our work with and treatment of Indigenous and First Nations people, we learn that the lesson is not finished and that the work needs to be done. And in Peru, some of those individuals, and I think Your Excellency, one of your recipients, will be from that community working in Indigenous and right relations. And that gets back to that conversation of two countries learning together, working from the history for right relations and sharing those experiences to make both our countries a more inclusive and respectful place. So again, thank you for that. The final part I will mention is this isn't the end of what Huntington's doing. We're proud to have hosted the first of its kind summit, which we will make an annual event, and a number of other initiatives and events that will be taking place. And when I had the good fortune to meet with Your Excellency last week and dear friends at your home, we announced that we will be publishing the first book for Peruvian-Canadian relations, which will celebrate the 200th anniversary. And that's currently in its final stages of being prepared. Some of you are contributors to it, and for that, I appreciate that. But we look forward to putting that out and through the ambassador, having that presented to distinguished members of government at your discretion, and hopefully the president and others, to ensure that what we're doing here as a community will be understood, and through that understanding, future opportunities built upon. So without taking too much more time, I want to thank you all for being here. I will say that we've received a number of correspondence from individuals that the timing, given this busy time with independence, is not necessarily as productive for them to be participants, but we are recording this, and through the YouTube channel of the embassy, we'll be posting that and carving it up into small bites to be sent out through various social media. So your presence will be far beyond on the internet, never to be taken down. So make sure you're smiling at any time, and we'll ensure that's the case. And maybe Your Excellency, at some point we can promote the YouTube channel again, if that's possible. And with your permission, we will get that message out to individuals on our communications that way. So Christine, I guess it's fair to say that media will be taking pictures during this. If anyone has an issue, please turn your camera off. And if not, we will be promoting that. So with that in mind, I want to thank you all, especially the embassy, to the staff involved with PCI, and to those that volunteer their time. It means a great deal, and we look forward to building this. So thank you so much. Merci beaucoup and chimagwech. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. McCormick. The Peruvian-Canadian Institute has also found a true champion in Marc Serré, Member of Parliament for Nickel Belt, Chair of the Canadian Americas, and founding chair of the Peruvian-Canadian Institute Advisory Council. Please join me in welcoming MP Marc Serré.
Thank you both to start off, Lourdes and Abbas, for being MC, and thank you, Abbas, for your introduction. Merci beaucoup tout le monde d'être ici aujourd'hui. Thank you so much. Another great day. And I also want to, as a federal member of parliament, acknowledge and recognize the lands that I'm gathered here, Tigamish and Anishinaabe, Huron-Robinson Treaty of 1850, and with the Winnipete First Nations and Métis people, that we share these lands for thousands of years. And as Abbas indicated initially in the opening remarks, when we look at education is the key. Education is the key for many things, but when we deal with our Indigenous peoples, education is crucial to understanding and preserving our environment, understanding how Indigenous people care for their elders, and that sense of community. So education is a way of learning, and Huntington University is part of this, learning and understanding our history and paving the way to better understand reconciliation of our Indigenous people moving forward. So it's really a pleasure and really an honor to be here today, as indicated, as chair of the Parl-Americas, and also working closely with Huntington and the amazing staff, which I'll talk a bit about later on. But when we look at the event that's being organized today and others that have been done in the past, I really want to thank, first and foremost, my good friend, Dr. Kevin McCormick, for your commitment, not only to the Institute, to Huntington, to the Peru-Canadian Institute, but also to the people of Canada, the people of Peru, for your tireless work. Remember years ago when I visited Peru with Parl-Americas at the Summit of Americas, and I came back to speak to Dr. McCormick about how can we strengthen our ties with this beautiful country of Peru, and the mining history and the relationship that we have with Peru. And let me tell you, it didn't take very long for Dr. McCormick and his team to come back with the concept of the Institute within days. So it's amazing. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. When we look at the Canadian national launch of the Bicentennial of Peru's celebration, but I know many of you, you've been looking at observing the 200th milestone of the independence, with some celebrations that we're doing today and during the year. So we've reached a positive milestone in recent times with the launch of the Institute back in December. The summit in May, as Dr. McCormick said, will be an annual event, and it's tremendous to see the growth and the interest from many leaders, academics, indigenous, educational institutions, and expert and business community between Canada and Peru. So today we are building upon this gathering virtually. Soon, hopefully we can meet in person. But again, thank you to Dr. McCormick, Christine, and the entire team of Huntington for putting these events together and strengthen this tie. Obviously, I want to acknowledge Bela Ravi, the Chancellor of Huntington, and all the board members that are here and continue to work for Greater Sudbury, Northern Ontario, and Canada, Peru. So I want to also take just a bit of moment here to thank Honorable Roberto de Diaz Nelas, Ambassador to Peru, of Peru to Canada. As Dr. McCormick mentioned, got to get to know you better, and your insight, your commitment to fostering that growth with the people of Peru and the people of Canada have been amazing. And also thank you to the Ambassador from Panama to be here, and many other guests that are here today to take part in the celebration of the event. And that's really important. We celebrating successes, celebrating the ties that link us together is so important, especially in these days. Always been important, but even more now. And the Peru-Canada Institute holds that esteemed role that we play within our communities to strengthen the international relationships that are crucial, that part of our government plan to establish the leadership between the two countries. When we think of Peru-Canada Institute, we tend to focus on the strong ties surrounding economic, trade, environmental, cultural, circular economies, and much more. But we see the synergies between mining, open democracy process, finding mutual solutions to climate change. But we cannot forget the aspects of cultural that build the lasting relationship, the love of culture, the food, and sharing the history and the vibrancy of Peru and its amazing residents. These are the lifebloods that keep the positives, that link us together with relationship between the two nations, that we foster a sense of community and spirit, even from a distance. More than ever, through this pandemic, especially, we see the strong ties on how closely linked we are. Globalization is driving us forward, and we must have further highlighted how that independence of our industries like mining, education, agricultural, and telecommunications are. We know we can't find suitable solutions alone, but Canada and Peru share a strong friendship rooted in commitment to democracy, social inclusion, trade, cultural, and educational ties. Now I'm so excited to learn more about the theater, the food, sustainable fields, and it's certainly many of us wish that we could restart traveling and experience that firsthand. Soon, my friends, soon. We cannot forget that the concept of social inclusion, helping the most vulnerable, must also include the conversation around Indigenous and rights people, as indicated earlier. Indigenous people from all over the world are working towards self-governance, and our role as a government, global communities, is to listen, understand, and support the priorities they set forward. So thank you for hosting today's session to celebrate Peru's 200th independence. And in June of this year, I had the honor in the House of Commons of Canada to make a statement in the House of Commons about the 200-year independence of Peru and the work that the Peru Canadian Institute is doing to strengthen these ties. So I know we all want to make a difference to create lasting change that benefit all social and economic facets of our country. We've got lots on the horizon, lots of positive moving forward. I think we all are in a strong place to see the Peru-Canadian Institute grow and be the foundation to further Latin American relations between our countries, developing a group of key individuals to spearhead a Canada-Latin American group. All I know is I'm certain that we are looking forward to the rest of the event today, this year, moving forward, and a strong and better future for all, a deeper connection between us as individuals, as an institution, as a country. So happy celebrations to all. Thank you for having me part of this wonderful event. And I'll send it back over to Abbas and Lourdes. Merci.
Thank you very much, Marc. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce His Excellency Roberto Rodriguez Ornelas, Ambassador of Peru to Canada, and inaugural recipient of a distinguished fellowship from the Peruvian Canadian Institute. Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayet. First of all, dear Dr. Kevin McCormick, founding president of the Peruvian-Canadian Institute, dear Honorable Marc Serré, member of Parliament and chair of the Canadian section of Parliamericas and founding chair of the Peruvian-Canadian Institute, Madam Bela Ravi, Chancellor of the Huntington University, Dr. Abbas Homayet, distinguished participants, dear members of the diplomatic corps, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I really appreciate to Dr. McCormick and everybody involved at the Peruvian-Canadian Institute for organizing this event. I am truly overwhelmed by all the words that you, Dr. McCormick, and Monsieur Serré have already said. I couldn't agree more what has been said by Monsieur Serré regarding these strong partnerships that exist between Peru and Canada. We have been in more than 75 years of a diplomatic relationship. We have been able to forge strong ties in all the areas, and we are looking forward to not just consolidate, but to enhance this relationship. And I am convinced that the Peruvian Canadian Institute is going to play a key role in that endeavor. If you allow me, I will do a rapid walkthrough on Peru and its history. As everybody knows, Peru celebrates 2 centuries of republican existence. Despite being a young country in terms of life as an independent republic, the physical territory that Peru now occupies was the scene of the rise of one of the world's 6 ancestral cultures. Therefore, the Andean civilization flourished in the central Andes of South America without major contact and without influences from other external cultures. The Andean people, our ancestors, faced great challenges, as at the present time, Peru was a varied set of climates and microclimates of altitudinal levels. The Peruvian of 10,000 years ago had to domesticate corn, potatoes, cassava, among other vegetables, to be able to achieve their daily sustenance. Through a vertical control system of different climates located at different heights, the first cultures were able to take advantage of fishing, fruit crops from the Yunga region, and tubers from the Quechua region. This would be the foundation for the development of pre-Columbian cultures that would impress the world with their artistic expressions and that are part of the legacy and heritage of all Peruvians. Our history has passed in parallel to the history of the world. As a sample, the truncated pyramids of Caral were erected at the same time as the pyramids of Egypt. The Paracas culture performed complex surgical interventions on the skull and buried their dead in very fine wraps, while Assurbanipal succeeded his father as king of Assyria. When the Nazca lines were drawn in the desert, the Greeks' free cities were building the cradle of the Western civilization. The Lord of Zipan was buried with his magnificent golden trousseau, surrounded by 8 individuals from his entourage on the north coast of Peru, while the Aurelian emperor reunified the Roman Empire. The Incas expanded throughout the entire extension of the Andes Mountains, reaching its maximum extension. In Europe, peace was consolidated between the kingdoms of Castilla and Portugal, and Joan of Arc was put on trial and sentenced. Machu Picchu was built years before Constantinople fell, ending the Middle Age on the trade expansion. The desire to reach new trade routes between Europe and India would make our two worlds destined to meet. The experience of the discovery of America and the subsequent conquest and colonization is a large and complex phenomenon of great contrast. Europe brought to America knowledge, technology, faith, and redefined the economic processes of pre-monetary civilization, such as the Inca and the Aztecs, but it also brought pain, death, disease. We cannot deny 500 years later that many of the origins of our great cultural and social gaps begin in that encounter. This way, 3 centuries after the arrival of Columbus on the island of San Salvador, today the Bahamas, in a huge continental feat, our South American nations decide to become independent from Spain. Peru was the center of Spanish power, and therefore it was a great challenge to achieve its total emancipation. With the combined forces of thousands of soldiers under the command of General José de San Martín, they managed to expel the Spanish forces from the city of Lima on July 15, 1821. Consequently, on July 28th, the father of the independence proclaimed our independence. Our country celebrates this Republican bicentennial in a particular context, in the middle of a global pandemic, an event of such magnitude unique in world history. Peru, like all the countries of the world, has been deeply affected by this crisis, where many lives have been lost and the economy of our citizens has been deeply affected. The crisis has revealed our strengths, such as the management of a stable macroeconomy that in the last 30 years has allowed us to face the crisis financially, having the resources to be able to issue bonds for those most affected, promote aid for large, medium, and small companies, and still maintain ourselves as a fiscally responsible economy at the country risk level. All of this would not have been possible without maintaining a constant state policy that has shaped an image of Peru as a reliable, safe, and stable country. Likewise, the health crisis has revealed to us the challenges that we still have to overcome. After 200 years, it is undeniable that Peru still needs to reduce investment gaps in health, education, connectivity, and social development in order to reduce social inequality in the same way that in the last 20 years we have been able to reduce poverty by 20 points. Through development in an economic scheme that encourages the generation of sustainable and social employment through public and private investment, Peru can and must reduce this gap to finally consolidate the promise of the historic July 28th, building a republic of equal citizens before the rule of law. In this sense, the comparative experience that countries like Canada can share with Peru are invaluable. Peru and Canada are 2 countries identified by common values, by respect for democracy, by economic and commercial openness. We are multicultural countries. We have vast territories, vast and exploited natural resources, and we face the same challenges posed by climate change. The comparative experiences that we can share in the management of minor resources, social responsibility before indigenous community, development of the health sector and education are invaluable. Canada is an important trading partner and investor country, and both countries recognize the need to work together to reactivate the global economy severely hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. After 200 years, Peru still has great challenges ahead. The state and nation, citizens, we have before us the immense challenge of building a country with millenary heritages, natural wealth, but also with great gaps that separate us from each other. Let our best reflection on this day be the joint commitment to shorten those distances and to achieve a country for our children and our grandchildren where our solidarity is imperishable and happiness is possible, and that our country achieves the development that all Peruvians dream of. Thank you to everybody for your kind attention. Merci beaucoup. Chimiwikchit. Long live Peru. Viva el Perú.
Thank you, Ambassador. Que viva el Perú. And now, on with the show. Today, we'll be screening two short films. The first one is called Lo Mejor del Gran Teatro Nacional, the best of the Grand National Theatre. In this video, you will experience some of the best shows presented in the last 3 years by the Gran Teatro Nacional, the main theater and concert hall in Peru. The presentations show the tradition of Peruvian music and dances, folklore from the coast, mountains, and jungle, tributes to Chabuca Granda and Alicia Maguiña, Peruvian composers and singers, as well as interpretation of great work of lyrical and universal ballet by Peruvian national casts. Please sit back, relax, and be entertained by the Grand National Theatre.
Vamos, qué rico. Otra vez. Qué bonito. Pura selva, pura selva. Charapas de oro. Amazonía. Ya se ha muerto mi abuelo. Ya se ha muerto mi abuelo. Comiendo suri. Comiendo tacacho. Olelolay, lelolay, olelolay, lelolay, olelolay, lelolay, olelolay, lelolay. ¡Ahora ustedes, vamos! Olelolay, lelolay, olelolay, lelolay, olelolay, lelolay, olelolay. ¡Buena! ¡Qué rico! Y ahora sí, en el vacilón del amor, siente la música, Coqui Rodríguez, ¡vamos! Llámame. Y ustedes bailan, baila, baila, baila. Siente la música de los mirlos, el poder verde. Olelolay, lelolay, olelolay, lelolay, olelolay, lelolay, olelolay, lelolay. ¡Vamos! Olelolay, lelolay, olelolay, lelolay. Lelolay. ¡Qué bonito! ¡Vamos! Y nos vamos, nos vamos, nos vamos. Saltando, saltando sin parar. Saltando, saltando, saltando sin parar. ¡Hey, hey, 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 hey!
Bicentenario del Perú, 2021.
Okay. Wow, that was great. That's my kind of music, actually. I'd like to see Marc Serré dance to that. What a wonderful video. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I'd like to invite Ambassador Arnelas back to say a few closing remarks about this film.
Thank you. What we have seen is a small sample or fraction of the immense cultural wealth of Peru. As I pointed out in my first intervention, the multiculturalism of Peru is reflected in its artistic expressions, in this case in music and dance, which are important components in the lives of Peruvian citizens, shaping their identity through a process of cultural syncretism. Influenced by Western culture brought by Spain, Peru has managed to combine cultural avant-garde and folkloric tradition throughout its 2 centuries of existence. Universal poet César Vallejo summed up the enormous creative capacity of the Peruvian people in a single sentence. All great art and voice comes from the people and goes to them. The lyrical tradition of Peru has a long lineage. Since the colony, the work of Tomás de Torrejón y Velasco, The Blood of the Rose, was the first opera composed and performed in America, premiered in 1701. Passing through the Republic, the French and Italian influence left their mark not only in bel canto and opera houses, but also filtered into popular music, especially Creole music. The Peruvian waltz has its origin in the French minuet, the Viennese waltz, and the Polish mazurka, the Spanish jota, and the mestizo expressions of the Central Coast. A figure both nationally and worldwide, both for his humble origins and his unusual, as Ima Sumac, a coloratura soprano whose incredible voice could even imitate the songs of birds. On the other hand, the multicultural and regional wealth of Peru has accomplished an extraordinary development in the Andean and Amazon region, where it is estimated that there are more than 1,400 dances distributed by the different departments of Peru. Of this estimated universe, the Ministry of Culture of Peru has registered as expressions of the intangible cultural heritage of the nation only 114 music or dances. there is still a vast universe to know and study in terms of cultural expressions. These artistic expressions are configured as part of the life itself, the identity and the work of Peruvians. This is how we have agricultural dances, which express the relationship between the man and the land, such as the Chuño Sarui dance from the Department of Apurímac, carnival dances, which pay tribute to life and harvest, such as the Cajamarca Carnival, ceremonial dances linked to deep rituals of our native peoples, such as the Dance of the Scissors, the religious dances linked to the cult and to the patronal and Catholic festival, a product of cultural syncretism, such as dances linked to Koyur Riti festivities, the ballroom dances, which are dances in couples with a loving content, such as the Northern Marinera, a representative dance of Peru, or the Afro-Peruvian people influenced by the Afro-descendant population who always transmit happiness and joy like the festejo. In the coast, the highlands, Andes, and the rainforest, Peruvians have a dominant cultural expression, which through music and dance configures tradition, customs, rituals, and festivities. We are a deeply mixed multicultural country where many cultural expressions are combined and set up to generate a unique identity, full of color, rhythm, and beauty. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. And now we're serving up our next film, which is sure to fool your appetite. Episodio de la serie Más Rico dedicado al ceviche peruano. Is dedicated to one of the emblematic dishes of Peruvian cuisine, ceviche. Various chefs, gastronomy critics, and experts in general discuss some approaches to the origin of our national dish, its development and evolution in recent years, as well as the importance of ensuring its sustainability through the responsible management of fishery and agricultural resources. The program is hosted by Gastón Acurio, a well-known Peruvian chef, and closes with the preparation of ceviche by the chef Tomás Matsufuji. Enjoy.
En el Perú se come rico.
¿Hay más?
Desde siempre. De día, de noche, en casa o en el barrio. En el río, la montaña o el mar. Los peruanos comen mejor cuando le meten más respeto y menos prejuicio. En el Perú también comemos con gusto.
Aunque a veces lo hacemos por gusto.
Pero lo que nunca debemos dejar de buscar es cómo hacerlo aún más rico.
Yo soy pescadora y para mí el ceviche es el plato más versátil, más fácil de hacer. Hay diferentes tipos de preparaciones según con quién estés y qué especie sea.
Para mí el ceviche es un plato muy sano, como una ensalada, pero potenciada con una proteína de sumo valor alimenticio, ¿no? Es un orgullo para nosotros los peruanos.
Bueno, para mí el ceviche representa todas las posibilidades que tenemos como país, ¿no? O sea, amplio como nosotros mismos, ¿no? Entonces, y además es un pretexto perfecto para reunirte con gente y comerlo, porque nunca te comes un ceviche solo, siempre te lo comes con alguien.
Ceviche, plato tan bandera del Perú. Entre todas sus variantes, en cualquiera es muy sabroso. Y si depende tu ánimo, ¿no? Con su canchita, un poco más de picante, un poco menos, pero todo va.
Para mí el ceviche es el plato que mejor nos representa hoy día. El mundo lo ha descubierto, lo ha hecho suyo, lo quiere probar en todas partes. No hay un solo ceviche, ¿no? Hay muchos ceviches. Cada uno tiene su ceviche favorito. ¿Cuál es su ceviche favorito?
Doy un ceviche mejor que otro. Yo creo que depende mucho de dónde te lo comas, con quién te lo comas. Es una experiencia.
Es como que te pregunten cuál es tu canción favorita, ¿no? O sea, hay como que un montón. Mientras más fresco, más rico.
Mi ceviche favorito es uno que me da mucha nostalgia, que es el ceviche de cojinoba. Porque cuando era chiquito yo pensé que la cojinoba abundaba, porque en todos los mercados habían cojinobas grandotas. Esto nos lleva a otro tema, ¿no? ¿Qué pasó con la cojinoba?
En el Perú la explotación de los recursos marítimos ha sido devastadora.
La mayoría de especies se reproducen en primavera, ¿no? Entonces, si se reproducen en primavera, ¿por qué haces una vez en verano? Mejor hazla antes.
Si queremos que nuestros hijos y nuestros nietos sigan disfrutando del ceviche como lo hacemos todos los peruanos hoy día, tenemos que buscar nuevos mecanismos para preservar las especies de nuestro mar. Una tarea que compete al Estado, a los pescadores, a los cocineros y a los comensales.
Tú proteges lo que quieres, entonces hay que fomentar el cariño al mar y el por qué hay que cuidarlo.
El ceviche del Perú, delicioso patrimonio cultural de la nación. Hay varias teorías sobre su origen. Siwichi en quechua es pescado fresco y en árabe ceviche es comida ácida. La Real Academia Española le permite al ceviche ser escrito de muchas formas, haciéndolo universal. Ya desde el antiguo Perú, la pesca fue una actividad mayor y vital para la nutrición. Siwichi como cancha. Por mucho tiempo, la maceración del pescado crudo se hacía por varias horas y fue la naranja agria la encargada de hacerlo. Otro ingrediente fundamental del preparado era el andinísimo ají, definitivamente el alma del ceviche. Luego, en algún momento del siglo XX, el limón tomó el monopolio cítrico del ceviche y el tiempo de maceración se fue reduciendo cada vez más, de muchas horas a unos pocos minutos. Pero volvamos al siglo XIX. Una referencia importante al ceviche es en la canción La Chicha, escrita por José de la Torre Ugarte y José Bernardo Alcedo en 1820, un año antes de que compongan el himno nacional. Somos ceviche, seámoslo siempre. Es así que para 1900 se puede ver lo democrático del ceviche. Se preparaba con blancas corvinas, en elegantes ceremonias en amancaes o con humildes peces oscuros llevados escondidos en papel periódico para evitar la vergüenza, que eran preparados en las picanterías y chicherías populares en el barrio de Malambo. Y desde hace casi 40 años hacen su aparición abundantes cevicherías y barras marinas que dejan en claro que el ceviche,
nuestro ceviches. El rey es sin duda el ceviche.
Es un perfecto equilibrio de sabor y nutrición que seguirá definiendo el gusto y el ánimo del Perú y ahora también del mundo.
¿Y eso de dónde ha venido?
Esto viene del mar.
El ceviche, emblema de la cocina peruana por donde se le mire. Para este bicentenario eso queda clarito. Lo importante ahora es saber qué hacer para poder disfrutarlo por mucho tiempo más.
En el Perú no existe ceviche malo. Tú puedes comer ceviche todos los días y no te aburre.
Claro, como que peruano no le va a gustar el ceviche, ¿no?
Me encanta.
Me encanta el ceviche.
No, creo que nunca me voy a aburrir de comer ceviche.
Jamás. Podría comer ceviche todos los días.
Todos los días lo podría comer.
Como todos los días. Aparte lo vendo.
La gente en la costa peruana es cevichera al 100%.
La cevichada en Chorrillos tiene como un montón de sentido, ¿no? Unir el ceviche, unir la salsa, dos cosas como muy tradicionales, muy locales, muy de Chorrillos.
Esta historia de celebración del ceviche también nos debe llevar a una reflexión. ¿Cómo lo cuidamos? ¿Cómo lo preservamos para las generaciones futuras?
Bueno, primero hay que bajarle la presión a las especies que estamos comiendo todos y que siempre se piden. La mayor parte de las especies en el Perú no tienen ninguna regla de control. Y las que más comemos, básicamente las capturamos como sea.
Patricia Magluf representa a Oceana, institución que vela por los océanos del mundo y es una luchadora incansable por la preservación de las especies marinas del Perú.
Estamos muy preocupados por el ceviche y por los recursos que comemos, pero también tenemos que ver cómo los comemos, ¿no? Generalmente cuando compramos ceviche para llevarlo, llevamos en envases de tecnopor, en envases de plástico, y estos van a la basura y esto todo termina en el mar. El plástico ahorita es una de las mayores amenazas para los mares del mundo y tenemos que reducir su consumo, evitar en todo lo posible usar el maldito tecnopor y cambiar hacia envases que sean completamente biodegradables.
Yo recuerdo cuando era niño, habían, por ejemplo, en Lima, 20 cevicherías. Y hoy día hay miles de cevicherías.
¿20.000?
Sí.
Millones.
Bastante. Hay muchas, ¿no? Miles.
5.000 cevicherías.
Cerca a mi casa hay unas señoras con sus carretillas y ahí los como. Hay cantidad porque a todo el mundo le gusta el ceviche, pues.
Es en los años 80 donde empiezan a despegar y a aparecer las primeras cadenas de cevicherías. Fue la primera vez que vi que te ponían canchita o un vasito de leche tigre de regalo. Y es en los años 90 donde explotan.
Exacto.
Y hoy día hay muchísimo consumo
y poco pescado. El famoso lenguado, la corvina, la chita, el pejerrey mismo está un poco amenazado porque hay mucha demanda de estos peces.
¿Y estas especies tienen veda?
Algunas tienen, pero la mayoría no.
¿Qué es la veda como concepto en el mar? La veda que escuchamos todo el tiempo.
Es una temporada donde no se permite pescar.
No tengo ni la más mínima idea.
Es para la multiplicación del pez, para preservar la especie.
Lo mismo se aplica a cualquier especie. Necesita un tiempo para que pueda reproducirse.
Si tú dijeras, ok, debería haber una veda de lenguado, ¿se sabe en qué meses debería haber esta veda de lenguado?
Lamentablemente no hay un estudio correcto del lenguado todavía. Hay una talla mínima, sí, pero no hay una veda. La talla que se mide desde la punta de la nariz del pescado hasta la horquilla de la cola. Esa talla mínima es una indicación de la madurez del animal. Si tú lo agarras chiquito, ese pescado nunca se reprodujo, nunca contribuyó a la población. Pero tampoco llevarte todos los grandazos, porque los grandazos son los que contribuyen más a la recuperación y son los más productivos. Si te llevas a todos los grandazos, dejas a los chiquitos, la selección natural va a hacer que todos se queden chiquitos finalmente.
Más me encanta con el bonito y el perico.
El bonito también es rico, pero hay que comerlo inmediatamente.
¿El bonito o el toyo?
Estamos acá en Lima, Perú. Acá estamos en una entrevista en la cual me llamo Javier Antonio de la Cruz Ustecho.
Bueno, a mí me gusta el pescado blanco.
El lenguado.
Lo puedes preparar con perico, con corvina.
El saborcito cambia cuando es un ceviche, no es un ceviche blanco.
Gracias.
Si es más rico el pescado blanco para muchos, entonces ¿por qué está tan de moda el atún? Que de blanco no tiene nada. ¿Y por qué le gusta tanto a las personas que tienen más poder adquisitivo el salmón, que es naranja y no es blanco, ¿no?
Creo que yo es por el perjuicio, ¿no? Porque piensan que a veces lo que está más negrito está mal. Pero más bien ahí creo yo donde se concentra la mayor riqueza del pescado.
Un pescado blanco es más sutil, es más ¿cómo te puedo decir, hija? Es más elegante al paladar, ¿no?
Quizás lo que ocurre es que los pescados, como el jurel, la caballa, cuando salen del mar, tienen una oxidación más rápida. Y entonces hay que consumirlos muy frescos para poder reconocer la magia de su sabor.
A la hora de la hora, tú le das a una persona un escabeche de bonito y le encanta y es el más rico porque es el que tiene más sabor. Estamos acostumbrados a comer unas pocas especies de pescado que cada vez son más escasas, cada vez son más caras. Y tenemos otras especies que son igualmente apetitosas y que no se consumen tanto. Lo que se ha estado buscando, trabajando con los restaurantes, era el promover lo que se llama la pesca del día.
La pesca del día es ¿qué hay de rico hoy día? ¿Qué hay de bueno, bonito y barato hoy día? Esa es la pesca del día.
Soy de Pacasmayos y mayormente allá lo hacen con el pescado que hay en el mercado, ¿no?
Yo soy del norte, así que he comido ceviche incluso de anchoveta y es delicioso y aparte tiene un montón de omegas.
Que los restaurantes vayan a los mercados y lo que encuentren, lo compren y produzcan los platos típicos, pero con otros tipos de pescados.
Cualquier tipo de pescado realmente, pero que sea una buena preparación, feliz.
No creo que haya un pescado perfecto, creo que todos se adaptan al ceviche.
Y te vuelvo a repetir que no hay ceviche que sea malo ni que sea malo para el ceviche.
¿Qué pasa si viene un comensal y te dice quiero comer un ceviche pero no como pescado, soy vegetariano?
Mando a abrir la puerta y le invito a que se retire, pues, ¿no? ¿Para qué vienes, pues?
Javier Wong. Es un personaje y siempre lo va a ser.
Mi primer ceviche vegano lo hice viviendo en la sierra y decidí probar con ceviche de champiñones.
Nuestra diversidad también implica aceptar nuestras diferencias.
Mi cevichito consiste en un limón recién exprimidito, ajo, imprescindible, sal y rocoto. Y estoy reemplazando el pez por los champiñones y 2 frutas que van a hacer un contraste en textura y en sabor, que es la palta y el mango. La cocina es ese espacio justamente en donde la creatividad tiene que surgir y la magia está en no ponernos límites y dejar de hacer por pensar que las cosas solo tienen una forma y un color.
En ese sentido, el ceviche también se convierte en una oportunidad para unir al Perú. El ceviche de chocho es un ceviche vegetariano, el ceviche de tarwi. Es un plato tradicional en el departamento de Ancash.
Te vuelvo a repetir, el ceviche es patrimonio nacional. Es plato símbolo, plato bandera. Si yo agarro el pabellón nacional y le pongo otro color, le pongo con púrpura, le pongo o plateado, ya deja de ser el pabellón nacional, ya no lo es. Aparte que lo nombraron plato bandera, se ha hecho popular en todo el mundo. Y el nombre de Perú se hizo más popular todavía por el ceviche, ha sido un agente desencadenante. Muchos turistas vienen por la gastronomía en general, pero su afán principal es el ceviche.
Yeah, I love it. It's fresh. Yeah. Fresh fish. Yeah. Fresh fish. Yeah.
El ceviche está presente hoy día no solamente en los restaurantes peruanos que están en el mundo, sino que además está presente en los restaurantes de otros países que ven en el ceviche peruano una inspiración para hacer su propia versión, lo cual es un homenaje a nuestro ceviche.
Que el extranjero se copie de nosotros, eso sí es bueno. Y tienen que copiarse porque ya se le demostró al mundo de que somos universales también.
¡Vive el ceviche! ¡Vive el Perú! 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 Carlos Rincón y los Avilés, el ceviche peruano y de fama mundial. ¡Ay, ay, ay! ¿Así? Ceviche de pescado, ceviche de marisco, ceviche de pescado, ceviche de marisco, ceviche de pescado, ceviche de marisco, ceviche de pescado, ceviche de marisco. Viva el ceviche, mi patria entera, mi mar, mi costa, mi bandera. Viva el ceviche, mi patria entera, mi mar, mi costa y mi bandera. ¡Ceviche!
¿Y cuál sería el mundo perfecto?
Una pesca bien manejada, un estado que pueda controlar y cuantificar cuánto se está sacando y poder determinar cuándo una especie está entrando en un estado de estrés. Todo el mundo tiene que saber cuáles son las especies que están prohibidas, cuáles son las especies que están en veda, cuáles son las tallas mínimas y respetar eso. Hay casos múltiples en el mundo que si tú mejoras el manejo de la especie, se recupera. Sobre todo en un mar tan productivo como el Perú.
Poder tener un calendario en la cocina de cada familia, en donde diga, llegó enero, llegaron estas especies, y que si además los cocineros en los restaurantes, en la radio, en la televisión, en los libros, en los periódicos, le dicen a la familia, oye, como ha llegado esta, te voy a dar una recetita sencilla para que la pruebes con tu familia. Ese es el punto al que tenemos que llegar.
El problema de la conservación de las especies es grave y lo tenemos encima. Pero la solución también la tenemos en nuestras manos. Lo que nos toca ahora es ir a la cocina y preparar un ceviche delicioso y sobre todo sostenible. El ceviche peruano no sería posible sin los recursos que tenemos para prepararlo. Una bendición que debemos agradecer y proteger. Por eso invitamos a Tomás Matsufuji, que nos ayudará a rendir un justo homenaje y a valorar esta delicia que la diversidad peruana nos ha regalado.
La hora de la verdad, vamos a preparar un ceviche. Hemos elegido una cabrilla.
Es un pescado que se trabaja muy fácil, de sabor muy sutil. Hay que decir que en verdad ceviche puedes hacerlo con la mayoría de tipos de pescados. La cosa es saber interpretarlo, ¿no?
Entonces, si tenemos un pescado chico, podemos cortarlo en
esta
cubos.
es la diferencia.
Sí, claro. Y si lo tenemos un pescado filetes grandes, podemos cortarlo más tipo filetito. El ají, que es esencial, ¿no? ¿Qué ají? ¿Qué usas tú? Yo uso ají limo.
Sí, yo también uso ají limo. La verdad es que no tengo plata para comprar otros, así que, o sea, el mochero, eso. El ají primero se le saca la avena.
Sí.
Le saca la vainita para que no pique. Pero realmente el aroma está acá. El aroma del ají está dentro de la avena y las pepas, ¿no? Esto yo lo uso para darle color al ceviche. Y si quiero darle fragancia
le metes
picante,
un poquito de esto.
Le meto esto.
Y la cebolla, bueno, todos tenemos como referente que la mejor cebolla viene de Arequipa.
Claro.
La cebolla de los valles arequipeños es espectacular.
A la hora que lo comes es suave, crocante, no tiene un sabor fuerte, penetrante, sino es un sabor bien agradable.
¿Qué corte le das a la cebolla?
En verdad depende del tipo de pescado que usaría, ¿no? Cuando quiero hacer un ceviche más delicado, digamos uno de cabrilla, trato de hacerle el corte, como le dicen, pluma, ¿no? Debe tener hasta cierto punto un cierto grosor para que no se mate con el jugo de limón, ¿no?
El orden de los factores sí altera el producto en este caso.
Sí, siempre le pongo la sal primero, ¿no?
Sin duda.
Eso ayuda a que el pescado bote un poco de líquido y se concentre su sabor, ¿no?
Controlas prácticamente el final del sabor si es que tú tienes el punto de sal exacto en cada pedazo de pescado.
Si el limón entra acá, ya lo cauteriza. Entonces primero sal, sí o sí.
Siguiente paso, mientras dejamos reposar el pescadito.
Sí, hacemos una leche tigre.
La receta mínima es ají, limón, sal.
Sí.
Cebollita y unas ramitas de culantro.
Para la leche tigre, lo mejor es cortar el pescado chiquito, ¿no? Entonces le ponemos un poco de sal. Pimienta blanca.
Cebollita.
Cebolla, yo le pongo cebolla, sí. Quizás picarle un poco más, ¿no?
Ají, con venas, sin venas, ahí en la leche tigre. Vamos a hacerlo picante. ¿Qué tal?
Sí. Vamos a ponerle uno.
Y una venita.
Claro. Ojo.
¿Le pones ajo o no le pones ajo?
Yo sí.
Culantro. ¿Ramas con tallo o hojas nomás? ¿O culantro
picado? A mí me
picado?
gusta con tallo, en verdad. A mí me gusta con tallo. Las hojitas yo le pongo al final como decoración, ¿no? Pero yo creo que el tallo tiene bastante sabor, ¿no? Inclusive yo también le agrego apio, ¿no? Le metemos un poco de apio.
Bien.
Al peruano le encanta el kion, le encanta.
Pero también tiene que ser con prudencia, ¿no?
Sí.
Mira, el olor es increíble, ¿eh? Por la sal. Y a la hora de exprimir el limón, que esto es muy importante, ¿no? En casa sale un poquito amargo el ceviche porque le sacan la mura al limón.
En verdad es como cuando le aprietas la mano a una persona, pero o sea, que te cae bien, ¿no? O sea, es un apretón así nomás, ¿no? No es que cuando estás celoso el otro y le haces así, ¿no? Es una apretada ligera así, ¿no? No es con odio, ¿no?
¿Qué es lo que tenemos que buscar a la hora de probar la leche tigre? Ese equilibrio entre la sal y el limón y los aromas que hay alrededor en donde ninguno destaque sobre el otro, pero que al final se convierte en un todo llamado leche de tigre, digamos, ¿no? Que está rica o no está rica, punto.
La leche tigre debe ser algo así como el beso de tu pareja seguido de una cachetada. Eso es la leche tigre.
Más claro imposible, ¿eh?
A mí me gusta usar, digamos, un poco de caldo de pescado y dejarlo así, licuarlo para que le dé cuerpo, ¿no? Pero les recomiendo siempre dejarlo un tiempo macerando, ¿no? Antes de ponerle la leche me gustaría ponerle un poco de culantro.
Ají no. Al final.
El ají en este caso ya lo pondríamos de adorno porque ya pica.
Sí.
Mira, el pescado ya está medio más gelatinoso, ¿no? Ha botado todo un poco del agua, ya se ha desarrollado sus sabores, ¿no? Le ponemos un poco, unas cuantas para adornar por dentro, ¿no? Mira, en este caso va a salir una leche tigre bien elegante. Siempre hay que buscar que la leche tigre resalte al pescado, ¿no? No viceversa. Le ponemos un poco de cebolla.
También le va a aportar sabor.
Claro, si es para negocio le meten más cebolla.
Claro, en otra época hubiese sido, ahora cubrimos con el limón y 3 horas después está listo. Ahora ya está listo.
Ya está listo. La leche tigre ya tiene el sabor incorporado al pescado porque lo hemos macerado. El pescado está totalmente crudo. Lo ves transparente, hermoso, no se ha dañado. Procedemos a servir. Acá queda más. Esto es para nosotros. Entonces, la guarnición, ¿no? La guarnición generalmente, ¿qué cosa? Una lechuga.
Una lechuga.
A mí me gusta la lechuga porque le da color, le da vida al plato, ¿no?
Sí. Choclo.
De ley. A ver. Choclito.
Camote.
Sí. Camote va muy bien el dulzor del camote con la leche tigre, ¿no? El yuyo es excelente para el pelo. Dicen que es uno de los mejores alimentos. Es el primer alimento de las especies marinas. Un poquito de canchita. Esta es la chulpi. Y lo chiclayando, ¿no? Un poco de culantro y creo que un ajicito para que ayuden a darle color, ¿no?
La cátedra ha sido excepcional.
No, ha sido un juego.
Hemos aprendido riéndonos.
Sí, no, ha sido en verdad un ceviche conversando, creo que es la mejor manera de comérselo, ¿no?
Exactamente, porque el ceviche, más allá de que es una receta, en verdad es una manera de acercarnos entre los peruanos. Claro. Camino al Bicentenario.
La conservación de nuestras especies es una tarea que tenemos que enfrentar con todas las fuerzas. Seguir disfrutando de nuestras maravillas gastronómicas, de nuestra cultura, depende de eso. El ceviche es nuestro plato bandera, no solo en este bicentenario, sino desde hace mucho tiempo. Ha puesto orgullosamente el nombre del Perú en boca del mundo y debe quedar ahí toda la vida.
¡Viva el ceviche! ¡Viva el Perú! ¡Viva el ceviche! ¡Viva el Perú! Así. Ceviche de pescado, ceviche de marisco, ceviche de pescado, ceviche de marisco. ¡Viva el ceviche! Mi patria entera, mi mar, mi costa.
watching a great dish before lunch. Christine, we're really hungry now. Wow, what a recipe. Okay, and that was awesome. And now I'd like to invite Dr. McCormick, who I'm told recently had the opportunity to try this dish for himself, to say a few words about the film.
Thank you very much, Abbas. And again, echoing your comments, Abbas, what a wonderful way to send people off to their lunch. Unless you brought some raw fish and all the ingredients, I'm sensing your lunch will not in any way meet the level and the flavors that we saw. We've heard themes throughout various events we've had with the Peruvian Canadian Institute, and especially today, about how things come together in different ways. The ambassador spoke eloquently about the different cultures that came together and continue to come together and how they influence the richness of the country. I think for me, what I've taken from that film and also experiencing ceviche in different contexts is that it's unique, but everyone has a common agreement on what it is. The movie showed us that everyone knows exactly what it is, but there's always a little variance that makes it unique. And I think that that's truly remarkable. When you experience it, if you haven't, it's interesting because one, it's rich flavors that are independent. You can identify each flavor in what you're eating, and the textures are different, but it comes together with one amazing flavor. And I think that's the hallmark of great cuisine, that you can identify what's in it, but you know that if you couldn't put it together the same way to get that richness and that flavor. The evolution of ceviche is clearly an indication that Peru's culture and the community itself as a nation recognizes and celebrates difference. I find it very funny when I looked at the video, the one restaurateur, the chef, that would ask people that were vegetarians to leave because he was very traditional. You parlay that with individuals who have found a way to adapt it. And I noticed most people's faces were as interested in the other one that didn't have fish because it looked unique and flavorful also. And it's an indication that things come together not in traditional ways, but in ways that are responsive and evolutionary. For the 200 years since independence in Peru, and as Peru goes on to celebrate more historic milestones in their country, it is constantly an evolution, as it is in Canada, to understand the richness of the past and build on it. When we look at the pathways between our countries, we recognize that we are works in progress, that we are continuing to build those bridges based on mutual respect, cultural appreciation, without being culturally appropriating. And I think that that's important to recognize, to enjoy and to embrace without taking away. And Peru's history and its future is very much predicated on its unique ability to recognize difference, but bring it together under one nation. So with that in mind, I think we celebrate ceviche not because it's a wonderful dish only. And the ambassador and I had a great conversation on what's make Peruvian ceviche different. And we could talk about the amount of time that the fish resides in the citrus. I think as an unofficial honorary Peruvian now, Your Excellency, since I now wear the jersey proudly for your football soccer team, I could say that I prefer my ceviche with the fish in the lime juice just for a little bit, not too long, unlike others. And that's not to say that other cultures do it differently, but Peru and Peruvians understand that it's unique to them. And it's something that's very important, not at the exclusion of others, but that the inclusion of others is constantly available for them to enrich their country and to make their entire nation stronger as it moves forward. So with that in mind, I thank you again for the opportunity to watch the movies. I would encourage you to please watch the Embassy's YouTube channel. Your Excellency, maybe we can post in the chat the link for the YouTube. If one of your staff could, that would be helpful so we can encourage people to go to it and share that with others. And for my part, I can say that I thank you all for being here, giving of your time and your passionate expertise. Your Excellency, thank you to you and your staff again. To my dear friends on the call, thank you so much. And to new friends I've met today, I look forward to working with you. So with that in mind, thank you so much. Muchas gracias. Chimagüich. Long live Peru. Viva el Perú.
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Kevin. And ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, certainly, please join me in welcoming Huntington University's Chancellor, Mrs. Bela Ravi.
Good morning, honored guests, friends, ladies and gentlemen. I'm hungry, I'll say that, after watching all that. And I'm vegetarian, so I like the vegetarian part of it. What a wonderful morning, celebrating and discovering more about the vibrant arts, culture, and cuisine of Peru. The bicentennial of Peru is truly something to celebrate. And as Chancellor of Huntington University, I can assure you that our university, through the Peruvian-Canadian Institute, is extremely proud of the role we have to play in bringing these stories to the forefront. One of the Institute's goals is to profile, celebrate, and raise awareness of Peruvian culture in Canada. And today, with Canadian national launch of bicentennial celebration, I think we've achieved that. Tomorrow, our Peruvian friends will celebrate a national holiday and 200th anniversary of the independence of Peru. We wish you a happy and safe bicentennial celebration. And those of us from Canada who have yet to have the opportunity to experience Peru in person, I encourage you all to learn more about the country, its people, and all it has to offer. I personally have been to Peru once, my husband 3 times, and looking forward to going back. In fact, as mentioned earlier, there are many more films about Peru that were created to celebrate its bicentennial, featuring topics such as biodiversity, tourism, Amazonian art, and the relationship between Peruvians and the Pacific Ocean, and the fauna and the flora of Peruvian coast. Thank you all for joining us today, and best wishes for a wonderful bicentennial celebration. Viva la Peru.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ravi. The films actually screened today and many others will be posted to social media by the Embassy of Peru to Canada after the event. Also, the Peruvian-Canadian Institute will also share those posts to our Twitter account at Peru_CAN.
Yes, and the films that will be available are Peru, Nature is Back, with 3 episodes, A Country of Contrasts, A Civil Society in Action, Our Climate Challenge. A 5-part series called Amazonas, featuring The Amazonas and Ronin and the Kene, Huma, The Heron God and the Rainbow Butterfly, The Llana Puma and the Mermaid and the Pink Dolphin, The Warrior Who Turned into an Orchid and the Chaki, The Healer Who Turned into Ayahuasca. Other films include such titles as Pacificum, Return to the Ocean, Peru, Main Tourist Attractions and Trade Prospects for Peru. And of course, the 2 films screened today. We hope you'll find time to watch those with your families and friends as part of our bicentennial celebrations.
I would like to thank Huntington University and the Embassy of Peru in Canada for presenting today's film screening as part of the Canadian national launch of the bicentennial celebrations. The Institute is proud to celebrate the 200th anniversary of Peru's independence in 2021. And we thank all of you for your ongoing support. On behalf of the Peruvian-Canadian Institute, as well as my fellow co-host Lourdes and myself, we would like to wish you a great afternoon. Viva Peru.
Que viva.